Emily here, personal trainer from Fight Gravity Fitness, and I'm very excited that you're joining me today. We are going to do a full body massage using a lacrosse ball. So all of our personal training clients receive a logoed lacrosse ball because this is a great thing that you can do at home that is easy to help your muscles recover, help have a little bit more flexibility in the muscles, and help you feel a lot better. So today, grab your lacrosse ball, and we're going to use the floor. If you have a bench or kind of a longer step, I recommend using something that elevates you a little bit. We can do these on the floor, that's fine too. And then we're going to use a wall. So we're going to try to relax our body as much as we can. If that means you want to put on some really nice relaxing music or anything else that's nice and soothing, go ahead and do that. And we'll get started. A lot of times with lacrosse ball work, I like to start with the feet. They're connected to our pelvis, so I feel like if you are short on time, rolling out your feet is very effective in calming the body. But today we're going to start more at the top and go down and end with the feet. So we're going to start with the base of the neck and the back. And I'm going to come to the floor for this. We can kind of do it against a wall, but it might be a little bit harder. And for this one, the lacrosse ball might be a little bit hard. So you can grab a tennis ball, or if you have carpet and you want to lay on the floor, or we can go against a wall to lighten up the pressure. So let's go ahead and lay down. And first, let's just ground for a moment now that we're down here. So go ahead and take your hands to your belly. Your knees can be bent, or you can straighten them out, whatever feels most comfortable for you. I invite you to close your eyes and just take a few breaths, being very mindful of your breath. And lengthening that breath little by little. With each exhale, allowing your body to soften, feeling whatever parts of your body are connected with the floor, allowing them to feel a little bit heavier, fully held by the floor. And I invite you to give your body permission to relax and release and take a break. So in addition to physically working on our muscles to release, we're going to connect with our nervous system. Because sometimes reactions in the body can come from the nervous system trying to protect us, making sure we're safe. And this can cause tension and tightness that if we don't release that tightness, it can cause anxiety and stress and pain in the body. So you can repeat after me out loud or quietly to yourself. Hello, body. I love you. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for everything you do. I give you permission to take a break, to release, and relax. And throughout these exercises, if you're ever feeling that tension, you can repeat any part of this. Thank you, body. I'm okay. You can relax. So go ahead and take your lacrosse ball, and we're going to place it where our skull meets our neck. And take it to one side, and we're just going to allow the floor to kind of press that ball gently into this area. You might need to hold it with your hand. If If you have a foam roller, this works really well on the base of the skull too. We just want to breathe. Once we find a spot where it's giving us a little bit of pressure, just take some nice deep breaths. Releasing out of the mouth. Inhaling down into the belly, into the rib cage, allowing the shoulders to relax. And then let's take it to the other side. Pressing where the base of the skull meets the neck into the ball. With all of these myofascial release exercises, we don't want to have sharp or burning pain. If that ever happens, release off the ball. But you might feel kind of a dull ache, and that's places where we want to focus extra time on, because that's a sign that the muscle is tense. And as we push on the muscle and encourage it to release with our breath or maybe our inner voice, the muscle will eventually release. Okay, go ahead and roll onto your side. Press up. The next one we're going to do is with the shoulders. This works best if you have a door jamb, so that wood molding around your door, you can just sit this right in one of the little divots and it'll hold it there. I'm going to use the wall, but we're actually going to start with the traps. So you want to hold it about hip height, because we're going to hinge from our hips. The reason it's nice to use a door is because your head can kind of go into the doorway. So you want to aim for this nice meaty muscle on your shoulders. A lot of times if you're getting a massage or a shoulder rub, that's what we're focusing on. We're going to do that with the lacrosse ball. So hinge from the hips, find that spot, and make sure it's low enough where you can press into the ball. This tends to be a really tight place for people, so if you hit a spot that feels really tight, go ahead and breathe. Make sure the rest of your body relaxes as much as you can to encourage that muscle to release. So we can find a little movement along the shoulder up towards the neck and away from the neck towards the shoulder, staying in the belly of the muscle. And again, finding those places where it might feel tense or a little bit of an ache, and then just holding there, breathing into it. I advise that you find a spot that hurts or that feels tense from maybe a 7 to a 10, and then you press into it, holding and breathing until that comes down about half. So down to about a 3 to a 5. And then you can move on. So let's go ahead and switch to the other side. As you're doing this on your own, of course, take as much time as you'd like. For our class today, we'll just keep things rolling. I just want to introduce all of these different ways to use the lacrosse ball that you can do all together as we're doing today, or you can do individually, maybe take one part of the body every day and just spend a little bit of time releasing your muscles. Another thing that I wanted to mention is when you're doing something like release, even if you're going to a yoga class that's nice and relaxing, like our classes on Saturday, it's a yin or restorative class, wear loose clothing. You know, tight yoga pants are really in, but if we're trying to loosen up the muscles, we're trying to relax, that tightness is going to keep this tension in our body. not just in our legs. So make sure you have some nice loose pants, loose clothing, to just encourage more of that relax and release. Next place we're going to go is our pecs. So we want to find the collarbone and come just below that. We can travel all the way to our armpits. A lot of times right here, right before the armpit, can be a really sensitive place that's really tight and we don't really realize. And then coming in, we want to avoid bone and joints. So not coming into the middle where our sternum is, but staying to the side. So start on one side. Again, use your door jamb. This one's a little easier with a wall. We're just going to place the ball below the collarbone and lean into it. Check in with your knees. Make sure you have at least a gentle bend in the knees. What's nice about the wall is you can adjust how much pressure you're putting into the ball. So we can gently roll to the side if you want to try with me coming towards the armpit. If you're like me, it's going to be a real sticky spot. The pecs are cool to work on too because as you breathe, if you take a nice deep breath into your chest, that's going to put pressure on the ball. So when we find those sticky spots and we hold, taking a breath might make it even deeper. Try to relax your arm with this as well. You might feel this all the way down the arm on the side that you're working the pec. And that's totally normal. You just want to think about relaxing it as much as you can. Releasing certain muscles might also trigger an emotional response. So if anything is too overwhelming, you can just back off. Be responsible for yourself to listen to what your body is telling you. If you are open to emotional release and it brings up something that you want to release in whatever way, whether it's having a cry or especially when we come into kind of the hip area, if you feel kind of angry or upset, you can take a moment and yell or something. Working through the body this way can release a lot of stuff. So I invite you to meet that where it is, be curious, not trying to push it away, but also protecting yourself if there are some things that come up that that you need to take a step back from. Let's switch to the other side. Muscle on the other side, working along below that collarbone, finding those places, taking some breaths. Continuing to check in with the rest of the body, allowing the breath to find softness through any other parts of the body that we aren't focusing on, and encouraging that muscle to release. Most of us usually have tight pecs because we are on computers or our phones or driving or carrying children. A lot of forward focus that uses our chest muscles, and a lot of times they can become tight to help with this forward movement. Our bodies are trying to help us stay in places where we are a lot, so it's easier for us. So sometimes we need to counteract that if it's not something that we want to. We don't want to be curled forward all the time with weak backs and tight chests. Okay, I realized I forgot the jaw, which is actually, I wanted to do that early on, so we're gonna just come up just a little bit and come into the jaw. So our jaw can hold a lot of tension. I'm gonna go ahead and sit down, which I encourage you to do if you can sit while you're doing some of these. Again, it's going to encourage the body to relax. So just take the lacrosse ball and take it where your jaw kind of comes up at that joint at the ear. And just gently press and maybe roll. See what feels okay to you. If you have a yoga block, you can also use the edges of the yoga block on the floor to lay into it. You can lay into the ball as well. It's just, it can be pretty sensitive here, so really ease into it. Make sure you have your hands supporting you so you aren't putting all your weight onto that. Also give your jaw a little jiggle. Sometimes that helps to release. Let's do the other side. If you really want, you can come all the way along the jawline. For me, I have little pinchy areas all along there, so you might feel the same, and we kind of don't realize that we're holding this tension in the jaw and in our face in general. So this can help kind of encourage the rest of the face to relax as well. Our jaw is also connected to other parts of our body, to our hips, our pelvic floor, so if we're holding tension in either place, it's going to affect the other one. All right, so we're going to continue kind of down from the shoulder in the back, focusing on the area that runs along the shoulder blade. For me, this is a place that I usually have some tension going on. So I like to put it a little lower and bend my knees. And again, kind of working below where we were before on the traps, going down the back. So you can find that spot, and then I straighten my legs to roll that ball down the shoulder blade. Whew. I have a lot of sticky spots along the way here, so I'm going to slow down, pressing into those places. This is another one that you might feel it up into your neck and down your arm. It's interesting doing myofascial release because you really can understand the concept of how everything in our body is connected to everything else when you press on something, let's say right here, and you feel it. You know, I feel it in the front of my shoulder, I feel it down to my pinky. So if that muscle is tight, it can be causing issues and tightness all the way down my arm, into my shoulder and my neck. And if you have any questions about any of these, or if you're not sure exactly where we're putting the lacrosse ball, go ahead and comment below the video. You can always reach out to us. If you need a lacrosse ball, come and join us here at the gym, Fight Gravity Fitness. You get a free one with your personal training. All right, let's switch to the other side. I feel like that is one I could definitely spend more time on. So maybe just take note if you have places like that that really stand out to you. Maybe you can come back after the video and spend a little bit more time. Just remember, when you find those places, really connect with your breath, relax. More breaths here along that shoulder blade. And we're going to continue down the back. So we want to avoid our spine, which is right in the middle, but we're going to come to on both sides. We have a few different muscles running down our back, and sometimes they can become very tight. So we have the paraspinals, and then the QL is a little bit deeper, so that might take a little bit more pressure to get to, but you're also probably going to find it a little bit further away from the spine. So just make sure you're not on the bones of your spine. Maybe coming, if you split your back in half, coming to kind of halfway between your side and the middle. And we can use the wall again. This can also be done lying on the floor, but again, think on the floor, you're gonna put all of your weight into it. With the wall, you can kind of ease off of it by adjusting your legs. So we can come down and up right along there, finding any places that feel tight or might give us a little achy feel. For our muscles in our back, I want to give you a little bit of intention. Intention goes a long way. When we think about something and we really try to embody that, it can really make a difference. So think about your spine as a hanger. And you know how if you put a shirt on a hanger, it's very loose, it's just hanging there. So imagine your muscles are the shirt. So we're really going to try to embody this idea. We have a nice structure with our spine that's very supportive, and our muscles are just going to drape on that spine and hang. So take a few moments to connect with those muscles and notice how they're feeling. Maybe just tuning in, you can feel the tension in the muscles. Maybe taking your hands to the back and feeling, oh wow, yeah, my muscles are strong and they're engaged. And how can I bring that feeling of being the shirt hanging on the hanger that is my spine? From there, to get the QLs, we can kind of come a little bit to the side and press a little bit harder. Listening to your own body. This is one that can get kind of overused sometimes, so it might feel pretty tense. And again, you might feel these different parts of the body where that muscle is connected to. Let's take a few more breaths working on this side. Release and relax. Thank you, body. So much gratitude for our bodies. It goes a long way. And let's switch to the other side. Avoiding the spine. Another thing you can do to reach these muscles in the back, which is pretty cool, is you can take a couple tennis balls or lacrosse balls if you like that more pressure. And you can actually take more. You could put 4 in there, but at least 2 in like a sport sock or a longer sock. Tie off the end, and then that you can lay on that so you have a ball on each side of your spine. You can probably put it on the wall too, rolling up and down, so you can get both sides at once. And even just laying on something like that can feel really good, whether you move it or not. I invite you to come a little bit further out and maybe go a little deeper to find those QL muscles. Remember, when you find a spot, to just really focus on a nice long exhale out the mouth, relaxing your shoulders, reminding your body that you're safe and it's okay to release. All right, next we're going to come to different parts in the the glute area. So we're going to start by trying to find the piriformis, which is a small muscle that's deeper. And so go ahead and take your hands and find your sits bones. These are the pointy bones at the base here that usually we're sitting on. So start with one side. We're going to find that sits bone, and then we're going to come to the side of it. So of course, as I mentioned, we want to avoid bones. We want to find the belly of the muscle. So finding that sits bone, I'm going to put the lacrosse ball just to the outside of that. And I'm going to put this against the wall. And I'm just going to lean into it for a moment. Maybe roll around a little bit and see, ooh, found a spot. Now that I found the spot, I'm going to breathe, and I can lean forward slightly, which is going to put a little bit more pressure, if that feels okay. Or as it releases a little bit, maybe I can go a little further. Breathe. Remember, we don't want pinching or burning, but a dull ache, like if you have sore muscles. That's okay. A little bit of movement. Again, we found a spot, so I'm going to hold. Definitely make sure you are avoiding your hip joint. You want to stay in the belly of the muscle, belly of that glute. And we're going to come up and find glute medius, which is kind of on the top of this back glute on the side. If you're not sure where it is, you can extend your leg back into the side, kind of diagonally, and it's going to engage at the top of the glute here. So same thing as we did with the piriformis, we're going to take it against the wall, and then we can kind of bend the knees and lean into it a little bit to help it release, put some pressure on that muscle. Myofascial release is really great to do before or after working out, playing sports, or doing anything that's really active. Unlike stretching, where it's recommended not to stretch on cold muscles, with myofascial release, you do not have to have warm muscles to work through the muscles. So you can do this first thing when you wake up. You can do this before a warm-up. Before you work out, I highly recommend at least rolling out your feet so we get those arches relaxed, flexible, but also ready to be strong and engaged as well, just so they're not tight and tense. So let's go ahead and switch to the other side. So first we're going to find the piriformis on the other side, finding that sits bone, coming to the outside of the sits bone, pressing into the wall. This is another one you can do on the floor if you feel good putting full weight on the ball. Post-workout, this is really great too, either right after you've done a sport or done something active. Really great to help the muscles recover and to keep kind of lactic acid and everything moving out of the muscles. But it's also great, it's something that I really do before I go to bed. As I'm getting older, I have found that in the morning, especially if I've done activities, I play soccer, so if I've had a soccer game the next morning, I feel really tense and tight, my feet hurt, my ankles hurt, but if I just take 10 minutes and do a little bit of foam roller or lacrosse ball on my calves and on my feet and anywhere else that's sore, hamstrings, in the morning I feel great. So it's really worth taking the time to utilize this awesome release of our muscles to recover from exercise and sports. Okay, let's move to the glute medius. Again, we can find it on this other side, making sure we're avoiding our hip, avoid the bones, avoid the socket, the joint. We're just going to press into the meat of that muscle that's on the side of our glutes. With both of these, I'm not really targeting our glute max, which is the biggest muscle in our booty. We're kind of hitting it when we do both of these, but at the same time, you can also come directly kind of above your sits bone to target the glutes if you want to, the glute max. I think a lot of times with some of the exercises we do, we get a nice length through our glutes, which can help through the glute max, where we don't always get that with the glute medius on the side, unless we are doing a little stretch into our hip here, which that would just be a stretch. We don't really have exercises where we're doing that. So it's nice to use the lacrosse ball. Okay, we're gonna come down to the hamstrings. For me, this is huge. My hamstrings are usually pretty tight. We're gonna start all the way up, finding that sits bone again and just coming underneath it. I like to have a place where I can sit. I love being here in the gym and utilizing our step because it's just the perfect height for me and it's all this space back here. You can also do it on the floor or if you have some kind of bench or something like that. What's nice about having a step down is, especially as I get closer to the knee, I can straighten this leg and it's gonna put a little bit more pressure down into the ball. I mean, I can even do it from back here too. I just notice it more as I get closer to my knee. We have our hamstring muscles that run all the way along the back of our upper leg here. So sometimes they might be tight closer to your booty. Sometimes they'll be tighter closer to the knee. Sometimes somewhere in the middle. And we have kind of like a width of the back of our leg. So if you can come straight down the middle, but then make sure you get the side, the outside, and the inside too a little bit. And I like to just try to sink my weight into this, especially when I find a spot. And instead of doing the 3 lines, I kind of like to roll back and forth as I'm going to kind of find if one muscle, whoop, there's one. And some of this might be really intense. If you have tight muscles, maybe it might be better to grab a tennis ball to start. Or just really be mindful and lighten up the weight if it's too intense. And then you can slowly increase the pressure as your muscles loosen up. Yeah, that one for me was pretty intense. So lightening it up, now I can put a little bit more weight on it. It feels okay. I'm just gonna give it a little roll. So again, remembering 7 to 10 in intensity, and then holding and breathing until it comes down to about half of that. And if it's not coming down, see if you can relax your body more, see if you can encourage it to relax. We can use our hands, we can use our breath. And if it's still not relaxing or feeling any less tense, then go ahead and move on. Maybe give it a little roll to see if that helps. You can always move on, but typically it should release with enough encouragement. And here, as I'm getting closer to my knee, this is where I straighten my leg, I feel a little bit more pressure. At the same time, that's also going to engage my muscles when I'm trying to completely relax them. So if you feel it without straightening the leg, go ahead and just relax as much as you can. As we get close to the knee, we have these big tendons and ligaments in here, so we want to avoid that, making sure we don't go behind the knee, giving ourselves a lot of space, making sure we're in that belly of the muscle. Let's go ahead and switch to the other side. A lot of people get recommendations maybe from their physical therapist to roll their IT band, which runs along the side here. And I would advise not to do that and instead target these muscles that connect and can cause tightness and tension where the IT band is connected as well, pulling on that IT band. So hamstrings, getting into that piriformis and maybe even the glute medius. The quads, we aren't going to do the quads today. Foam rollers are really good for the quads. You can use the lacrosse ball and lay down on your belly. We're just going to focus on the back today. That's also an option if you tend to have tight quads, if you run a lot and feel a lot of tightness through the fronts of the legs. It's really good to do as well. There are a lot of different tools for myofascial release out there right now. What I love about the lacrosse ball is you can get into all these little nooks and areas, especially coming down to the calves and in the feet, where with a foam roller, you know, it's this flat, long surface, so it's going to rub and roll differently than a ball that's going to really pinpoint these certain areas. That's what I really love about the lacrosse ball, and it's so small. It's really easy to just take with you when you travel or take it to work. I keep a couple under my desk at home, and so whenever I'm on my computer, I'm usually rolling out my feet whenever I'm sitting there, or just pressing into the ball if that feels appropriate. All right, let's move to the calves. So this is another place that, I mean, anybody who walks is going to have tight calves. If you do more exercise, your calves might be tighter. Maybe some of it has to do with our genes as well, but if you walk, you're going to have some level of tight calves. So you can do this sitting on the floor. Again, if you have a step, it's just kind of nice because you can put a little bit of extra pressure with the foot going down instead of here. It's almost like you need to straighten the leg a whole lot. But wander around on your calf, finding those places. And I want you to also, I like to bend my knee to access this, but you know, you can feel your shin bone, the tibia, the front shin bone here. And where I found a lot of tension is to the right and left of that. So really pressing more on the sides. I found a lot of benefit because that connects to my knee, the knee joints here. And I really can feel the difference of how tight this gets and how it can affect my knee and my ankle. So I often find the sides of my calves have tighter places than the middle, except where our muscles kind of overlap and connect in here. There's a spot that for me is usually pretty tight. So you can use your hands. This is the same with a foam roller. You kind of have to use your hands and roll along it. Or explore, find a way that feels good and works for you. If you have any ankle or foot pain, I highly recommend doing this every day, maybe even twice a day when you wake up and when you go to bed, or if you usually have pain in the morning, definitely do it before you go to bed. I really feel like tight calves can cause a lot of different issues through the feet, the ankle, the Achilles. So really focusing on these muscles. As you come down to where you find the Achilles, it might be good to come side to side. Just see how it feels. Kind of coming to the side of the Achilles tendon instead of rolling right down the middle. Oh, see how that feels. And sometimes I just find a spot and I'll just sit and breathe with enough tension on it to help release that muscle. Let's switch to the other leg. In a pinch, if I've forgotten to do this and I've gotten into bed and I'm like, oh shoot, my legs are gonna hurt in the morning, my feet are gonna hurt in the morning, but I don't wanna get out of bed, I actually use my opposite toes and I put a lot of pressure and I run them up and down my calves. And usually it hurts a little bit, but it's kind of like any other like myofascial release, or if you're trying to release scar tissue and things like that. We are trying to break up that fascia, so it might feel a little tense or feel a little bit of pain, but you'll be happy that you did in the morning. And if that feels weird or you have a hard time using your other foot, you can also use your hands. You know, our hands are very powerful in healing. You get a nice strong thumb going down the calf or any other muscles. Same thing like the lacrosse ball, putting pressure on those places that we feel that tense. There's the one right in the middle. Woo. Yeah, it's really important to set up your environment when you're doing something like this too. You know, if there's a lot of stressful things going on around you, or if you're sitting here thinking about an argument you had or something bad that happened at work, we're going to put more stress into our bodies. So make sure you really get into the right mindset, do whatever you need to do. That's why I love doing this after exercise too, because for me exercise is such a nice stress relief that then I can feel more relaxed when I'm doing something like this. Same with yoga. All right. I just want to share one other thing. We do have this muscle running along our tibia kind of on the outside, and that's another place you can target with the floor, especially if you have something like shin splints or pain maybe in the top of the foot here. Just notice, like, okay, I have tension here. What is that connected to? Oh, this muscle runs along here. I'm going to do that. Things like that, or the front of the knee. All right, feet time. So we're going to start under the balls of the toe. I highly recommend doing this barefoot so we can really work on that toe spread. I'm going to keep my socks on for today, but these socks are kind of wider anyway, which is really nice, but socks sometimes can bring our toes together. We want to have that nice spread. So anyway, starting right under the balls of the toe, we're going to roll right along the arch until we get to the start of the heel, and then we're going to reset. So we're going to press and roll towards the heel, reset. Press and roll towards the heel, reset. Again, stopping if there are any places where it feels extra tense, and we can hold and breathe. We can come towards the inside of the arch, getting the side of that arch towards the inside of the foot and towards the outside. It's really great if you can do this 2 minutes every day on each foot. So I'm sure you are sitting at a desk or sitting somewhere watching TV. I was gonna say driving, don't do this while driving. But any place that you sit for 2 minutes, even while you're eating, you could be doing this under the table. And just really take that time each day and notice the difference. So then we'll ground the heel, starting again right under the balls of the toes. And we're going to take it side to side. And then we're going to slowly work our way down along the arch till we get to the start of the heel again. And then we can work our way back up, or we can reset. So those are the 2 exercises on each foot that are really great. And then I just invite you to explore your own feet. I have tension kind of towards the heel here. So it might be a little bit into my heel past my arch. So sometimes I'll just press into that and hold. You can start to get to know these little spots that kind of hold that tension. Also right under the ball of my toe, I have really high arches, so I find that the insides of my arches can get really tight. And so I kind of turn my foot out and focus on those a lot more than the others. I'll just do kind of a general roll through the rest because they don't really, I don't really feel that tight tension in the rest. It's just kind of a general release. That feels really good. But then when I come to the inside, it's like, ooh, okay. Go ahead and switch to the other foot, starting off with pressing under the ball of the toe through the arch towards the heel. Remembering we can go down the middle, we can come towards the inside of that arch, and we can come towards the outside. As I was mentioning about toe spread, this is a great opportunity to notice your feet. Number 1. If your toes are tight together, as you press, you can think about spreading those toes and maybe even spreading them onto the floor. But it's a great opportunity to just check in and how are my feet doing? If you have bunions on the inside of your big toe here, highly recommend changing the shoes to some wide toe-based shoes, because that's going to make all the difference in the world, and really start working on spreading your toes. You can reverse the issue of having a bunion, but it takes work. So best is to prevent it by not wearing pointy shoes, especially that have a heel that's going to jam your foot forward. And then also, if you decide to wear shoes like that, is doing exercises like this, releasing the arch, but definitely working on that toe spread to get your big toe back where it should be, in line with the rest of your foot instead of curving in. So, any questions about that? Comment below the video. We can definitely talk more about steps to preventing or correcting issues like that in the feet. As I mentioned before, our feet are connected to our pelvis. So as we're massaging the arch of our foot, you can really connect with your pelvic floor muscles, which are the muscles that are kind of the bowl at the base of our torso that hold a lot of really important organs and are really connected to a lot of different, probably all of the functions of our body. So we can really focus on releasing down into whatever we're sitting on, relaxing those muscles as we roll through the feet because they have that direct connection. I forgot we can ground the heel. Take this side to side, right along the arch. And that's it. We've given ourselves a full body massage using this little lacrosse ball. So take a moment, plant your feet nice and flat on the floor. I invite you to close your eyes or lower your gaze and just take a moment to breathe through your body, noticing how you feel, noticing if there's any little tension that you can release with your breath, and sending so much gratitude to every part of your body. Our bodies do so much work without us even thinking about it. So it's really great to give some love to our bodies and gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Let me know below in the comments if you have any questions or comments about this practice. I hope you feel great and enjoyed it. If anything was difficult or hard, please reach out. I'd love to hear what's going on and see where we can help. And I hope to see you in the gym soon. Don't forget to use these lacrosse balls. They are a gem to have to supplement your workout and keep you nice and healthy and supple. Thanks for joining me.